Well, hello, hello. This is Peaceful Perspectives, a mother and daughter discussion. Welcome. So, this is a space where a mother and daughter discusses family, faith, and life. And we post every couple of months, every other month, bi monthly. So, I want to introduce who the mother and daughter that you're going to be hearing from will be. And it is myself, Chanel Dupree, and I am a strategic connector with deep Midwestern roots. I'm a wife of 16 years, a mom of four, a social service administrator, a pastor's wife, a licensed attorney, and an author. And along with me, we have my mother, Elaine Gunn, and she is an expert listener, always searching for understanding to enrich those around her. She adores her family. I can vouch for that. It's true. And she has years of experience as a business owner and recently completed a 40-year-old goal of obtaining her college degree, plural. And so that is who you're going to be hearing from. And dear mother of mine, did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. You did quite well. Thank you.
Okay. So, um, a couple of things. What we're going to be talking about today is respecting them as adults in their
Yes.
20s, 30s, and 40s. And I selected this topic because, Mom, I felt like you did it so well, and you're doing
Mhm.
it so well regarding me and my two siblings, older brother and younger brother. And so
Yes.
wanted to create a space just to hear from you because I know that a lot of folks are navigating that space of their children becoming young adults, becoming grown adults.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
yes, I just want to let's just have a conversation. What are your kind of initial thoughts on how do you do it well?
Well, a lot of times when you're in it, you don't really know you're doing well until your kids get older or you hear someone else comment on what you do. I do want to back up and say that respect is a word that has a few meanings. But I want you all to keep this meaning in mind as for this podcast. Respect is a deep admiration. Another definition is a warm approval. Okay. And so that's how we are going to tie that in with our children. Okay. So whenever you hear the word respect, you're thinking of a warm approval towards your children. Another thing I want to say is respect doesn't just start at an adult, okay? You build it. You start instilling that respect in your children at a very young age, whether you realize it or not, okay? So let's take a baby or a toddler, for instance, okay? How you can show warm appreciation for is when they're trying to talk to you. Okay. You stop and you listen. Because
Mhm.
what that is telling them is whatever you got to say is important to me. So for example, a few years ago, I was in church and we were having some kind of celebration. It was loud, it was crowded. I think I had like 6 or 7 of my grandkids around me and I was standing up and I was really into the service. And one of my grandkids tugged at my clothes and I stopped everything I was doing. I sat down so that I can get eye to eye level with them and put my ear up because it was loud, put my ear up to their little mouth to hear what they were saying. They said whatever they said, and then I went on back to what I was doing. I took care of them and went on back to what I was doing. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is I would have never remembered that moment, but someone was watching me and
Mhm.
told me about it. and said, this is what they said. They said, I understand why your grandkids are crazy about you
Yeah.
because you stopped everything you were doing to listen to what this little person had to say. Now, probably didn't understand half what they wanted because they were in the toddler stage, but I bet you I pretended I did. Okay. And so that is one of the ways that you can start showing your kids, your grandkids, or whoever God has blessed you with as far as children in your life. That is one of the ways that you can start showing respect to them.
This is a conversation because usually we're talking about how children need to respect adults.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you're talking about this and the way that you're framing it is how, as an adult, how, as a parent, we can respect and honor our children. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and, you know, so that's beautiful. But it's also important because, like the phase that I'm in, the kids are, number one, they talk a lot.
Like
Okay.
they do. They do. They have a lot to say,
Oh my gosh.
especially two of them. They have a lot to say.
Oh my gosh. Like yesterday, one of my children wanted to give me the synopsis. She wanted to tell me the ending of a book, but she wanted to read the ending of the book. But then she couldn't just read the ending of the book. She had to tell me about the whole book.
I know which child that was.
Yes. So it was a struggle not to be like on my phone or to be doing other things and just to look
Mm-hmm.
at her,
Yeah.
listen. And, ultimately I said, you need to hurry this up. But
Oh, we need to talk.
I'm being honest. Okay. But no, I love that kind of thinking and that reframing of
Yeah.
respect and also thinking about it as something like warm and
Yes.
it's not you will respect my authority.
Mm-hmm.
It's warm.
It's a
It's
warm approval.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the things you could do if you have a very talkative children, then some of the things you could do if you haven't already is you can let them know and say, listen, we can ready to have our special time. When do you want our special time for it just to be me and you? And you can tell me about your books and you can read to me if you want to. When do you want that to be? Do you want it to be when we're riding? You can start setting a date with them if you find that they just are more lengthier in their explanation of stuff. I mean, that's just one of the things you can do. But I want to go back and also say this. Respecting your children or giving them a warm approval does two things, okay? First of all, it teaches them how to respect you, and it teaches them how to respect other people, okay? Number one. Number two, which is even more important, is it teaches them how to respect their own selves,
Yeah.
okay? So it's a win-win for everyone. If the word respect is kind of harsh for you, then say warm approval, okay? But it will accomplish the exact same thing. Another thing that we can do to show our children respect is not cuss at them.
Mhm.
Okay, no swearing. Okay, and I know that some parents will say, well, that's what my mama did to me. Okay, but that doesn't mean it was the best way. Okay, you want the best way. And I never swore at y'all because I never got yelled at or fussed at when it came to my, well, I got fussed at a lot, but I never got disrespect. I never got cussed at. I never got, get out my face. I never got called out of my name. I was mom always, and I know I pushed her buttons many a times. Okay, but she never called me, and my dad never called me out of my name, never belittled or degraded me. So that is another form or another way that you can start respecting your children is don't call them out of their name.
Yeah. Because it
Yeah.
impacts them.
I'm sorry.
It impacts them in a matter.
Absolutely. It really does, whether you realize it or not. It is, and it can be broken. You could break them and not even realize what you're doing when you are calling them out of their name. The paranoia that you can put on them, especially if you talk about, like their skin color or the texture of their hair or how they walk, or you just like your dad and you mean it in a very negative way, or you just like your mama and you mean it in a negative way. Those are all things that can tear down your children. And this is just a foundation. This is just when they're babies. I'm talking about toddlers. Okay. I haven't even gotten to when they're teenagers and they really start getting on your nerves. Okay. And then when they're adults. Okay. So my last thing for when they're toddlers or a baby is, don't talk baby talk to them. They're smarter, way smarter than you will ever know. Okay. And so you start talking to them, age appropriately, like they're little humans, that's just another way to show respect towards them. Okay.
You did it well. And so, a part of this space is making sure that others can hear how you did it, because I think also how you did it was different than how we typically see it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was appreciated. We always felt that whenever we came to you, that
Mm-hmm.
you were always there. There wasn't a situation where it was like, oh, mom's too busy, or mom, so even when you were working or whatever the situation was, it was
Right.
like, if we needed something, you were present. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you all became teenagers, I'm not saying that I did not like y'all during that time frame. So there was silence.
there was a long pause. I'm not really sure.
Ooh, parents know what I'm talking about. Okay. But I loved y'all, of course. I loved y'all unconditionally. But you all were beginning to form your own no's and yeses and opinions and all this other, all these other normal things that you were entering into. And so that respect had to look a little different. At least for me, it did when it came to y'all. And so what I did was I made sure that I respected who y'all were becoming, okay, guiding you and to make sure that you wasn't walking into fire, mom, I want to grow up to be a drug dealer. Well, son, I don't, let's talk about this.
We're not going to support that decision.
But because they are so active in their teenage years, it is very hard not to even yell to your neighbor, you know what this boy wants to do? He wants to be a drug dealer. Ain't that crazy? Well, see, you can't do that. Okay.
Well, that again for me a different way. If I can't talk about my kids, like,
Who can I talk about? No, you cannot put their stuff out there like that at all. And see, when you guys were growing up, social media was not a thing, okay? But my next door neighbor was, and me picking up the phone calling my friend was, and that's kind of the same thing. And so I didn't do that with y'all. Now I did go to mom and I did ask her questions, but I respected my mother. My mother was the bomb diggity bomb. And I knew that she wasn't going to go tell her neighbors and her friends and stuff. I knew that what y'all's, especially as y'all got older, y'all private stuff was y'all's private stuff. The only person she was going to tell was dad. And that's because he was sitting there halfway listening, maybe, But it's very important that when they're teenagers and beyond, that you do not take to social media sharing their business. Now, I hear some of y'all saying, well, what if they go and take to social media sharing their business? Well, it is up to you as a parent to monitor and to teach them what to share and what not to share, okay? But the main thing is to show them respect. You don't get to share their business, okay? And then you teach them some things not to share and some things that they can share. They can't, their whole life should not be on display for everyone to take a dig at, because ultimately all you're going to say is, why everybody else in my business?
Yeah.
Okay. So, amen. Yes, absolutely.
So, back to the fact that you didn't really care for my brothers when they were teenagers.
I love them. Still do.
Myself from that. But, it's something, because you're talking about the guiding. I know that I was always trying to do something or X, Y, and Z. I remember probably starting at 16 when I would ask for certain things, you would say, Chanel, you're only 16. And I would think to myself, I can't wait until I turn 17. And then 17, you would say, Chanel, you're only 17. Oh my gosh. What age?
You grown and out the house. We ain't got to pay bills for you.
Yeah. So what does that look like, and how important do you think that it is that parents, that they start preparing themselves for when, your children are 15, 16, 17, driving, more independent,
Oh, yeah.
college, outside of the house, all of the things?
Yeah, that's usually a time frame when they really begin to show their independence, and their thoughts are not necessarily your thoughts. That is a really good time to start practicing respecting and guiding them. Of course, you're going to have to guide them because they're just 16, 17, 18, but you guiding them to the proper, whatever you're needing to guide them to. So when they're in their teens, they come to you. Now, their daddy used to always tell you, no, 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 no. I'm like, oh my God, if you could just listen, hear what they have to say first, okay? And I think most men are like this. I hear a lot of mothers say that.
Yeah, I used to ask for things that I didn't want first, because I knew the answer would be no first, and then follow up with the thing that I really wanted after I enticed father into conversation. So yes.
Really? I didn't know that. Good to know. Share something with my grandkids now. But yes, absolutely. It is very important that you don't beat down all their ideals, even though some of them are really kind of crazy. But it is really important, because what it does is it instills respect in them, confidence, and that's what you want them to have. By the time they leave the house, you don't want them scared, or you don't, and I had another thought as we were talking. Another good reason to teach your child respect and to teach your child respect and to instill and to show them respect is they'll know how it looks when it's time for them to look for their mate.
Yeah.
If you are allowing things to go on in your life that's less than respectful, they're going to allow the same thing. And I promise you, it's going to hurt you way more to see it done to your child than it does to you, because we tend to love our kids more than we love ourselves. And so if we see some of those same negative things that are happening to our children that we allowed to happen in our lives, that's going to be painful. So another good thing to start instilling respect into our children and showing them respect is then they know how it looks when they get outside the four walls of the house.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing also is when they come to you with their issues or with some things that on the inside you want to go, oh my God, I cannot believe they said or did this. Okay. That should never be they should not ever see that reaction. Okay. Because then you're not going to be the one they come to, and you want to be the one that they come to, because you want to know what's kind of going on in their lives so that you can guide them and, into what's, the best way for them, the best journey or best path for them. So what you want to do is you want to be that sounding board for them. You want to make sure that you're there, listening to them. And then if you need a minute to kind of process what they say, just give them a minute to process what they said. And then say, you know what, baby, I understand what you're saying. Let's revisit this. Give me 1 minute, okay? And be honest with us. I need to think about this. I said, because you could tell because my knee-jerk reaction is A, B, and C, but I know that's not the best. Okay. They need to also see that you're human and that you have to process stuff too. Okay. Or
So
sometimes
I'm taking notes. This note is don't freak out.
don't show them that you're freaking out. Now you may go to your husband and go, do you know what this boy said? Or you know what this girl said? You got to get it out somehow. Okay.
No.
But not to your kids, because as quiet as it's kept, our kids are just connected to us. And we can be some of the most toe up parents, but our kids are going to love us and unconditionally. And so we have to be very careful on how we respond to them. Very careful on how we respond to them. I am way careful on how I respond, even to y'all as adults now, even today. I don't, y'all don't all say everything I like y'all to say and do. Okay. 90% of it you do though. But that little small percentage where, like if I would pick pink instead of blue, but she picked pink, minor stuff. But I don't ever voice that because, okay, that's what you like to do. Just because you came from me doesn't mean you have to be me. You need to be able to be who you're going to be so that you can pour into who God has around you to pour into, in your case, your husband, your children. So, amen. Amen.
All good things.
Amen.
Okay, so let me just say this. I very much feel like when I was out the house and was in college, you were just very supportive. Like you were there. Like you were there for the I remember I had the last minute fly to Las Vegas for a sorority deal.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I'm coming with you.
Yes. Yeah, there was no way I was going to let you run around Las Vegas for 1 week without me.
Right. And I had never flown before.
Yes.
All of the first things. And so you were there with that. I think about just even moving to Kansas.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You were there for that. You would come up and visit every month or so, just to kind of.
Oh, she's forgotten. It was more than one. No, it was way more than that. But because my baby was leaving or had left, and you were young when you left. You were like 17 when you
left for college. Yes, left for college for OSU.
Left for college, yeah. And so you were my baby. And so you were determined to go to Stillwater. She was determined, and I couldn't really stop you. But I said, well, next best thing is I'm just going to be up in her face as many and as long as I can. But what I didn't do is, this is what I didn't do, okay? And I remember having many conversations with Mom. What I did not do is when I went to up to Stillwater to see you, I did not go, I don't know why you picked Stillwater. I don't know why you here. Girl, why don't you just come on back home? I did not do that. There was no way I was going to do that. You were thriving. You were doing well. And if I had said that, that would have been out of pure selfishness on my part. And I would have crippled you, no doubt in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so I had to put my little feelings to the side and understand that you were becoming an adult. And that you were making some decisions that I was going to have to learn how to respect one way or the other. I believe that sometimes when parents express such disapproval, if it's not a life or death situation, then, you're going to yell at the rooftop. But if express such strong disapproval when their child does something, that all it does is get that child to go, I'm going to do it anyway.
Mhm.
Okay. So it is very important you pick your battles. Okay. You were not doing drugs. You wasn't hanging out. Well, was you hanging out all night? Well, I don't know. Your grades were good, but
My grades were good. I did well.
so you were able to balance out some stuff. Well, I'm not mad at you. Okay. Because I couldn't tell anything when I would go up there. Now, I did back off a lot after you met your husband. I didn't know he was going to be your husband, but he was so honorable even at a young age that instead of me being up there every weekend once you moved to Kansas, I said, well, maybe I better pull off. And that was hard for me too. But I saw that you were better and you were in a better place. So I respected your relationship with Mark even back then because I knew what I was seeing, you know. So yeah, it's a process. It starts from when you were a child and it goes to until I take my last breath. I will always respect y'all and y'all's decision. You know, if I had it my way, y'all will all be here. We would move here. We would move to land that's a little bigger, and then we'd put 3 houses on the land, and then oh, perfect world. Then my grandkids.
But if
What?
the house next door to us went on sale, y'all would buy it. Okay.
No, no, we'll not do that. I'm gonna tell you why. Because she has 2 other brothers that I'm mindful of as well.
Get
And
them.
we are smack dab in the middle. One sibling lives here, one lives 6, 7 hours away. You live 5. Dad lives 7. I can't. We look at the big picture. You will too. You'll see.
Okay. So then, and I feel like we could talk about this way more. I don't even think that I want to talk about how amazing you were when, like, I started having children. That's
Oh yeah,
something else.
yeah.
But just in every phase, it just felt like you showed up and you were like, how could I add to what's happening? Like
Right.
you were helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The question is, how can I be a help
Mhm.
and not be a hindrance? You know, I've seen mothers who everything that child did pretty much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, woman, just back off a little bit and let this child breathe.
Mhm.
You wanted it when you were growing up. Give it to your child. And so, one thing I do want to say before we even close, I do want to say this. If you have an adult child that is not respecting you, okay, you need to create boundaries for that adult child, okay, because they have no right underneath this earth to be disrespecting you. At the bare minimum, which is a lot, you gave them life, and so they have no right to be disrespecting you on any level. I don't care if they if they just got in a fight and they're in a bad mood. I don't care if they're drunk. I don't care if they're high. They better come to themselves and always show you respect. So in that, you need to set boundaries. I set boundaries for y'all entire little life, age appropriate boundaries for your entire. I've never sat down and said, now listen, if you cross this line, Chanel, then this is going to happen. It was just unspoken. I learned you as my child, my sons, okay, and I taught you by showing you how to respect and the things to do and not to do. And number 2, if you find that they're not respecting you, make sure you are respecting yourself.
Mhm.
Because we can tell our kids a whole lot of things. Don't do this and don't do that. But if we're doing it, I
Mhm.
promise you, they're not hearing anything you say. They're watching what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have self love or self respect for yourself, it's going to be hard for them to have it too.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying. Just take it for what it's worth.
So make it easy for your kids. And what I also heard you say is teach them how to respect you. Teach your
Yes,
children how to respect you.
absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
requires,
And a little small thing is the boys in our family. Yeah, and yes, sometimes ginger focused, don't care. But I say, listen, if you see me coming up to this door and you don't rush ahead of me and open this door, we're gonna stand here till something pop off. Okay. And sometimes the grandson and child's only 5. Yeah, you break the door, work it, open up that door.
you could do it, baby.
Room for you. Open it. They get the door open. I help them a little bit with my foot, but they need to understand. And I say this because your brother, I don't want to say their names without getting their permission, but your oldest brother, just a couple months ago, if that, said that he remembers when I would walk up to a door, a car door especially, and just stand there. I don't know what's happening here. And he said that was his cue to come around and open up the door for me. I said, yes, it was. And I see him doing it. It is so beautiful. He does it for his wife. I think he did it for his daughter too. That's what really made me take notice of it. And I'm like, oh my
I
gosh.
was
But
about
see,
to say really smart, but okay, I won't now that my niece is involved. My niece and my sister in love. Okay. All right.
but see, that respect was instilled a while back. You understand what I'm saying? You don't know how that's going to show up, but it looks beautiful when you see it. It's like, oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful. And her brother opened up the door for his sister. I said,
my nephew.
There you go.
Come on,
there
nephew.
you go. So all that, it is a little thing. It's the little things, but I promise you, people see it and people take notice of it because you don't hardly see it. Right. You don't hardly see it at all. Right. At all. So yeah, that's those are my nuggets. Even as adults, you could pass it on generation to generation. It don't just stop with your own kids.
Yeah. So just in wrapping up, what are some final thoughts that you have? We know that this is going to be a continuing conversation.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any final thoughts or final nuggets?
I do. If you say, after listening to this and you say, listen, I've been cussing my child out from day one and they 31 years old, listen, it is never, ever too late. Ever. I have known parents, once they find out, oh, you mean this wasn't the best way to do this? Or maybe I could do a little bit better in this area. They have apologized to their child, and they have since then made it right. You can do the exact same thing. If you see that you've gotten off or that you didn't quite do it the best way based on maybe how you feeling about yourself or how you were raised, okay, first of all, you need to love you. Okay, because if you don't love you and you don't respect you, it's going to be hard for you to even notice it in others or instill it in others. So that's probably the first thing you need to do is see where you are at with yourself. Okay, first thing. And then if you need to make amends, and then just start from there. That's my nugget.
Thank you. So I at the beginning, but you've been married for 40 plus years. You have 3 children, are in their late 30s and early 40s. You have 10 grandchildren. You are a first lady, and you have experienced many different dynamics just in relationships and have such a beautiful perspective and a wise perspective that I'm so glad that other people are able to tap into and listen to. So,
amen.
Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome. And I need for you to make sure you use all of this on my grandchildren.
What?
Oh, you push pause. Okay, we get ready to talk.
Yeah, they're in that one phase. That's all right. We're all gonna make it. We're all gonna.
Oh, I know.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching our
Hmm.
first Peaceful Perspective
Yeah. Yes.
discussion.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time.